Good morning. It is 8:30 and I am just checking to see who we have all on the call. And we'll give more members the opportunity to join. We'll give them a couple more minutes.
Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everyone. The time is 8:33 a.m. And I want to check to make sure if we have a quorum that we can proceed with the membership meeting.
Mr. Brown, can you turn your camera on? We now have a quorum.
Greetings and good morning to everyone. Welcome to the membership committee meeting for September 2021. At this time, I'm calling the meeting to order to start at 8:33 a.m. I would like to ask for a roll call now. So could you please state your name and your region? Or your representative agency. We can start with Mr. Chair, Randall Brown. Are you there?
Mr. Chair, you're muted.
Let me try that again. Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Madam Vice Chair, Chair of our membership committee for today. I am Randall Brown, outgoing chair of the council and member for Region 7.
Thank you. Mr. Bristow.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rashard Bristow, chair-elect representative from Region 7.
Ms. Bazile.
Hi, I'm Kim Bazile. Hi, I'm Kim Bazile and I'm Region 3.
Ms. Polazola.
Hi, I'm Bambi Palazzola, and I represent the Governor's Office of Disability Affairs.
Am I missing someone other than myself? Is everyone? I think I called everyone's name. Did I miss our ma'am?
You called everyone.
Okay, thank you. Of course, I'm Hyacinth McKee, membership chairperson, outgoing vice chairperson. Can we get our executive director and staff on the call to please announce themselves?
Hi, my name is Amy DeVille. I'm the executive director of the council.
Good morning. I'm Ebony Haven, program monitor of the DD Council.
Hey, this is Brenton Andrus, one of the program managers. Hannah Jenkins, DD Council staff.
Chandra Stewart, Program Monitor.
Thank you, everyone, for those introductions. At this time, I need to make a note and also motion for some review of the agenda as it stands for today. We did have the membership agenda posted online for all public view, but the agenda had the date of August 27th on there. That was the date that we intended to meet. But of course, with Hurricane Ida, we needed to cancel and reschedule the membership meeting for a date and time that we can have everyone present. So there is a change to the agenda that I have to make the committee noted of. The date is changed, the time is changed from August 27th to September 30th. And also Roman numerals were missing from the agenda to outline the way the agenda flows. And so the agenda was posted. I'm asking I'll ask Amy to share the proposed changes to the agenda and ask for a motion to accept the proposed changes to reflect the Roman numerals, as well as the new date and time of the membership committee meeting. I'll give the committee some time to take a look at this, and then I'll entertain that motion to accept or what's decided.
Hey, this is Brenton. Just real quick, it says October 30th. I think it should say September 30th.
Yes, it should say September 30th. And that's so totally okay. Thank you, Brenton. It's with Hurricane Ida and everything. Thank you so much for catching that.
And this is Bambi. For the item that says scoring of candidates, I disagree of us individually publicly scoring people who applied, applicants. I think we could have that process in place and people know what instrument we use, but the individual scoring of people in a public setting, it just creates issues that we don't need and shouldn't have to do. It was never done before. And so I disagree with that. I think that the process of scoring candidates or even showing the instrument that's used is appropriate, but not publicly rating our candidates. As a body, we can do that, maybe, come back with that, but not individually.
Thank you, Bambi, for that point noted. I believe you mentioned that we've never done that before, and that is actually incorrect. We have done that at the past membership committee meeting, the membership committee before as well. We have each individually called out our scores publicly for the individuals that we interviewed. The last two membership cycles, we have done that. In fact, prior to the Zoom environment, we also did that at the DD Council office. In the DD Council office, individuals as far back as 2019 appointments. So I'm not sure about, we've never done that before.
And I didn't finish my sentence. We never did that before until there was I guess it's public knowledge. There was an attempt to kind of overthrow the leadership of the council. And so people were questioning the integrity of the committee. And so that process was put into place. I voiced my disagreement with that. I personally am not going to rate people publicly. That puts me in a position of saying, I think Susie Q got a 3, and then I have to work as a community with these people who are applying. We are all duly appointed members of this council. We are duly appointed by the chairperson to serve on this membership committee. And it is a procedure that I think will cause division within the council, within the disability community. We, of course, can say our process. We can come out and say our recommendations, and then the council can fully vet that and have conversations about that, and then they can make recommendations from there. But I can't imagine. I mean, it's just a bad policy of rating people who are applying for the council in a public meeting, and doing so to where it puts a target on us as individual members of the membership committee.
And Bambi, I need to, and I hear your concerns. That was a concern that was brought up before, but unfortunately, we cannot get around open meetings law.
Not true.
Everything
That's
that
not
we
true.
do. Well, so let's say this. I cannot, right, understand your concerns. I cannot get into this back and forth about it. This is a decision that was made 3 cycles ago. And unfortunately, we're at the point now where we are still utilizing this process that we have used already for 3 cycles. And so as your concerns are duly noted, respected, and received, but that does not help us as it relates to moving forward what we have put in practice for the last 3 cycles. We have had opinions from LDH. We've had audits as it relates to our membership process. We have done all types of ways to make sure and ensure that our selection of individuals for membership is transparent and open to the public. So at this point, there is no other alternative that has been approved and vetted by the council to move forward as it relates to selecting candidates. The past seats that people that are holding seats right now, they underwent the very same scoring rubric process where the scores were read, publicly allowed for them to obtain their seats. So your concerns are noted and received, and we understand about being in a bad position. I hear you with that, but it does not offer any remedy for us at this point moving forward with our committee selection, with our membership selection process. So I'm not sure if anyone else on the call wants to voice their concerns about this policy, but this is the policy that we have used the past 3 cycles. So I will open the floor for more discussion because it does seem like it's a topic of concern by one of our membership members. If anyone else wants to voice their concern about this process, please feel free to do so at this time.
Ms. Bazile has her hand raised.
Ms. Bazile, you're recognized.
I totally support what Bambi is saying. I have nothing more to add, but I agree with everything that she has said.
Anyone else has any comments about this process?
Mr. Bristow has his hand raised.
Mr. Bristow, you're recognized.
Yes, ma'am. I have a question. What was the process prior to with the membership committee before the current model was in place?
To my knowledge, the meetings still were open to the public before a rubric was established. A lot of concerns was raised by the public that the DD Council in its membership process was not objective, that it was selective, that it was subjective, and that it was done in the basis where there was not a lot of transparency, and that a lot of questions was called, to the point in which we've had LDH opinions written about membership. We've had visits from state auditors about our membership process with concerns of transparency. So this particular process, rubric, objective was developed under the previous administration and proceeded throughout our current administration, and has been used for the past 3 membership cycles. And if I'm not mistaken, people that are on the membership committee now sat on that membership committee and utilized the rubric and scored individuals publicly, utilizing the rubric that we have in front of us in a public format. So, my concern as your chair is that I hear the concerns, but as it stands right now, we cannot manipulate and change this. We can make a recommendation in the future to revisit this issue as it relates to the membership process. But as it stands right now, this is the process that we have in place and we have used for the past 3 cycles. So this is where we are. Individuals who are holding seats right now actually were scored publicly using this rubric and the process.
Okay, thank you.
So while saying that, membership committee, it leaves us in a situation where we have to proceed with what we have in front of us and what we have already used for the last 3 cycles. Because at the 9th hour, we can't go and change the process. So we are at a place right now where we need to entertain a motion to accept the changes in the agenda to reflect the Roman numerals, the date, and the time, and then move forward. I would offer to the committee to make these recommendations known, say these concerns, and then possibly when the next membership committee convenes or executive committee, ask that the membership selection process be reviewed, be relooked at for future appointments. So at this time, I will entertain a motion to accept the agenda.
I make a motion to accept the agenda amended from August 27th to September 30th, with it reflecting the time change on the Roman numerals.
There's a motion on the floor to accept the agenda. Need a second? We have a motion on the floor to accept the agenda. Need a second? Hearing no second, we still have a motion on the floor. We need to make a decision on what we're gonna do.
Madam Chair, I'll second the motion.
Motion on the floor by Rashad Briscoe to accept the agenda, seconded by Chairperson Randall Brown to proceed and move forward. Any objections? Any abstentions?
I object to it. I'm sorry.
Objection noted. Any abstentions? Any public comment or discussion? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, moving on to the agenda. I'm trying to pull it up to see my view options.
I'm sorry, Madam Chair, if you have an objection, I think you have to do a roll call vote.
Oh, sorry. Thank you, Brenton, for that. Roll call vote. We're gonna start with Mr. Bristow,
Yay.
Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Bazil,
I object.
Ms. Polazola,
Sorry, present.
do you object to the acceptance of the agenda, or do you accept it?
No, I accept it.
And then myself accept. So motion carried. Agenda accepted. Okay, moving right along, we're gonna do the visual, sorry, I can't see, the virtual protocols. Can we post that on the screen? All right. The virtual protocols.
Can everyone see them?
I think there we are. Yep, finally came up.
Okay.
Council meetings shall be accessible via Zoom and live streamed on YouTube. Council or committee members will participate via Zoom and shall be considered present when they display a live feed video of their face with their first and last name. Have microphones muted unless called upon by the chairperson. Electronically raise their hand to request the chair recognize them to speak. Once recognized to speak by the chair, their microphone shall be turned on. After speaking, the microphone shall be returned to mute. Guests may participate via Zoom or observe meetings live on YouTube. All public meetings shall be recorded and may be made available on the council's YouTube channel as determined appropriate by the chairperson. Public comments submitted during a meeting via any format below shall be considered. During a Zoom meeting, guests may electronically raise their hand to request a comment. Upon being recognized to speak by the chair, their microphone should be turned on. After speaking, the microphone shall be returned to mute. Post comments relevant to the item under consideration in the chat box. Post comments during the live stream of the meeting on the council's YouTube channel via the YouTube website. Public comments of a person's character would not be heard. If a comment continues after being asked to stop by the chairperson, council staff may be instructed to end the meeting. The chairperson will notify the executive committee of this occurrence. Council chair will seek guidance to determine if it is legally appropriate to redact or share the video of the meeting on the council's social media. These are the virtual protocols. Can we put the agenda back up? Thank you. And so now I'm going to turn it over to Amy DeVille, our Executive Director.
Hi, everybody. We're going to look at two letters that were used in the past. Let me pull those up. This letter is from the Administration for Community Living and was written January 15th of 2020. The purpose of the letter is to inform the Louisiana Council on Developmental Disabilities of continued concerns from the Office on Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities within the Administration for Community Living regarding the membership compliance of the council. In a letter to former Executive Director Sandy Winchell, Teresa Gwen from ACL cited the need for future appointments of council members to align with the Developmental Disabilities Assistance and Bill of Rights Act of 2000 requirements. Section 125B1C of the DD Act states in part that the membership of the council shall be geographically representative of the state and reflect the diversity of the state with respect to race and ethnicity. It is our understanding there are currently vacancies on the council. It is the role of the council to educate the governor's appointment office on the DD Act requirements for council composition to ensure gender, racial, and ethnic diversity reflective of the state demographics. As the council continues to navigate through this process and through fiscal year 2020 state plan year, we will be closely monitoring efforts for compliance and we'll be reaching out soon to learn of steps the council intends to take. Failure to work towards compliance may result in suspension of ACL funding. And then this was I believe the original letter, May 20th, 2019 to former Executive Director Sandy Winchell, encouraging that the council continue to work towards full compliance with membership requirements as outlined in the DD Act. Let's see. So I just wanted to bring those up so we could just kind of remind ourselves that when we're looking at new council membership, it is important that we look at all of the different factors that the DD Act requires. So that being said, let me pull up a demographic document so we can take a look at benchmarks that we kind of need to hit when it comes to filling these seats. So one of the most important things to look at is family members versus self-advocates on the council. Currently, and this is taking out the vacancies that we have 7 family members and 4 self-advocates. And we need to make sure that we bring that number of self-advocates up by 3 at least. We're losing 3 self-advocates in the members that are leaving. And so we need to bring 3 self-advocates back. And that, as mentioned in that letter, is extremely important. The other thing that is important is diversity on the council. And with these 6 people who are rolling off, we're losing a good number. Well, we're losing some of our diversity. So we also need to be really cognizant of that when we're looking at new members to add to the council. We need to make sure that we are looking at our census demographics and trying to stay as in line as possible. So if you look towards the bottom where we have our current racial makeup of the council, and that's with the vacancies that we have, we're missing an Hispanic person on the council. We've lost that in some of the roll-offs. And we also need to look at adding some additional African-American members to the staff. To the council membership. In addition, even though male-female is not looked at probably quite as closely as some of those other areas, we do tend to have an overwhelming majority of women on the council membership. And so we do also need to look at that too. But once again, self-advocates, adding 3 self-advocates is a must. And we also need to be looking at our diversity. Typically when you're filling seats, I think in the past you've looked regionally. The requirement is that we have a regional representation of all areas of the state, but not necessarily that we have one person from each region or anything like that. So I created this because it helps me look at it visually, which helps me. It might not help other people. But hopefully everyone can see it's a map of Louisiana. The blue points are where our current members live. So our current representation is made up by those blue points in the state. So as you can see, where we're really missing people is the southwest portion of the state. So those are like Region 4, Region 5. We don't have a lot of representation from Region 6, which is the Alexandria area, the central portion of the state. And then when you look at the northern parts of the state, we also don't have a lot of representation there either. So when you're looking regionally at people to fill spots, again, I would say that most important to look at is making sure that we're filling self-advocate seats and we're looking at diversity. But then when we need to start looking at regions, we want to try to focus on the southwest and the northern parts of the state. Our southeastern part of the state, we already have a number of members from there. I'm not sure if anybody has any questions about that. If so, I'm happy to answer if I can. Oh, Bambi asked if I can enlarge. I can try. Let's see. Once I do that, it kind of takes a portion of it off of the screen, but hopefully that helped a little bit.
Does anybody have any questions for our executive director regarding the requirements and what we are charged to do as a membership committee to remain in compliance?
And there's a comment, or I'm sorry, Dr. McKee, there's a comment in the chat that's asking to enlarge the image.
Yeah, I did enlarge it a little bit. I don't know. I believe it was Miss Polizzola who asked. Is it large enough for you? This, unfortunately, I had to do this in a online format, and it didn't really lend itself very well to viewing. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bill, for your presentation on it. This is why it's very important for us to remain as transparent as possible when selecting members for the council. It is not an easy task for us to do as a committee, and it is much appreciation that everyone takes their time to who's been selected to participate in this process. We recognize it is a lot of work to do to be a part of this process. So thank you again for those demographics. So now let's go to the membership committee procedure. Is there some way that you can show that, Amy?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. And I can read this out as well. Name of the applicant's region role and interviewer will be posted. The floor will open to allow for public comment for a maximum of 2 minutes for each public member. The ratings template with all applicants listed by region will be posted for view during the meeting. Each committee member interviewer will state their rubric scores for each applicant, who they were assigned, and be willing to take answers from the committee if there are any questions. The selected staff member will record and post scores as they are being stated by the committee member in the template for view. Selected staff would tally each score. The top applicant scores for each vacancy. This round, 3 advocates and 3 other seats, with specific attention paid to diversity in less represented regions of the state, will be noted, and the membership committee will go into executive session if needed. Executive session. If needed, membership committee will go into executive session to review details on applications and phone interviews of top applicants. And let's make what that means. In the past, we've had information that was given to us by applicants or candidates that have been very sensitive in nature. People may start talking about their personal health issues with health concerns or diagnosis of whatever. And membership committee members in the past felt that that would not be appropriate to say people's intimate, sensitive information in public view during YouTube. And so it was determined that it will be best practice also sought with LDH opinion and guidance that we be allowed to go into executive sessions. Such sensitive information is disclosed on people's personal applications, that the executive session will be called by the membership committee to discuss only those sensitive information, only discuss information that was conducted during the phone interview and not score behind closed doors. So again, we cannot go into discussion of scoring behind closed doors. Well, in other words, during executive session, that must be made public. And that was also sought by LDH's opinion. So if need be, we will go into executive session. A membership committee member can motion to go into executive session and it can be entertained. Once we get out of executive session, we will reopen the meeting to the public. The names of the top 6 candidates will be called by the membership chair. The final scores will be read by the membership committee chair with the names of the top applicants for the vacant seat that will be recommended to the full council. The full council will, of course, cast their vote, make their final recommendation to be submitted to the governor for appointment. The floor will then open to allow for public comment for a maximum of 2 minutes per each public member. So at the end of the meeting, the candidates will be notified that their name has been selected to be submitted to the full council for consideration for appointment, and a brief bio of each candidate will be provided to the full council for review. Any comments, questions about this process? I will open up to, if there's no comments from the committee, I will open it up to the public if they have any questions as well.
Dr. McKee, Ms. Karonda Corley has her hand raised.
Ms. Corley, you have the floor. Ms. Corley, you have the floor. I believe Ms. Corley, you are being disconnected. No, it's some challenge with the connection of the call.
Wait, can you hear me? Because I'm actually driving. Oh yeah, I can't.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Okay. My apologies. I'm driving. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, for allowing me to speak. I heard or while we try to get members based on the region, and I'm on how we feel that individuals would be able to represent fully without represent everyone fully if they don't understand the full makeup of certain areas and regions. And I'm gonna use I'm gonna use Allen Parish. Allen Parish is extremely rural, that does not have access to a lot of things. So they actually have to travel outside of that parish and go to visiting parishes in order to gain access to much needed resources. And that's a problem if we don't have people that actually represent those areas to actually be able to voice those concerns. So I just actually wanted to make sure that we really and truly consider the representation by the regions, because even areas like East Baton Rouge Parish, we have extremely large areas that are rural, and that lie in between other neighboring parishes. And those individuals in the DD and ID community don't have access to much needed resources as well. So I just wanted to make sure that I raised that point, that we may want to consider the region and not just statewide folks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Corley, for your comment. Anyone else from the public want to comment on our process? Floor is open. Okay, hearing no other comments from the public, we will proceed with the agenda, the next agenda item, which would be the scoring of the candidates, I believe. So at this time, can we have the rubric placed on the screen for public viewing, as well as the staff member that will be? Thank you. So what we have in front of us is the scoring rubric that was utilized by each committee member while they were interviewing and reviewing the application of the individual, the candidate that they were assigned to work with. This is the rubric that is developed, that we have utilized this rubric, I believe, since 2019. Could have been prior to that, but I can't speak anything prior to 2019 because I wasn't part of any of the membership. So this is the rubric that was utilized. This is the rubric that we just used in this round as well. And so the first is applicant fully supports the values in the DD Act, and it goes into different explanations of what that looks like. The second is applicant is familiar with the council and understands and supports its purpose. The third is applicant is or has the capacity to be a strong systems change advocate. And then applicant demonstrates leadership qualities. Rubric is scored using a 1 to 5 Likert scale. And each interviewer at this time will start calling their scores. And so I'm going to ask if, yes, that's what I'm doing. Thank you so much for our scoring rubric to go up. And so now we will announce the individual's name. As we can see, we have, let me just briefly just let the public know it so they can kind of hear it as well. We have applicants from the North Louisiana. We have 3 applicants from North Louisiana. We have Logan Davis, Abby Benjamin, and Vivian Webb. We have applicants, 5 applicants from the Southwest Louisiana area. We have Danielle Watkins, Libby Earhart, Cheney Guidry, Cody Rabelais, and Pasquale Wynn. Then we have applicants from other parts of the state applying. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Jerica Sweester, Caitlin Robinson, Kimona Hogan, Kathleen Canino, Karen Federer, Christy Gonzalez, and Angela Harmon. And I'm sorry, that is 7, not 9. So I believe we have a total of 12 applicants. Is that correct, Amy, in all? 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
15.
15, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so at this time, we are going to be calling out the names of the applicants, and we're going to ask the individual that rated that applicant to please share the score.
Okay, this was Rashad Bristow.
Yes.
Interviewing Logan Davis for the first category of fully supports the values. in the DD Act was a 5. Familiar with the council and understands purpose and, apologize, and understands and supports its purpose, 5. Under the category of has the capacity to be strong systems change advocate, 5. And under demonstrates leadership qualities, 5. That concludes my report.
Thank you. Who's next?
I had Abby Benjamin, and she scored 5s all the way across also.
Next.
All right, I had Vivian Webb. She as well scored 5s across.
Thank you. Okay, next we'll read the ratings for the Southwest Louisiana applicants. Danielle Watkins is up.
Yes, I interviewed Miss Watkins, and she scored 5s across all categories as well.
Next.
I interviewed Libby Earhart. And as I said, I don't feel comfortable with this process. 5s all across.
Next. Amy Guidry.
Yes, I interviewed Miss Guidry as well, and she also scored 5s across all categories.
I interviewed Cody Rabelais, and he scored 5s all across. Next.
Yes, and I interviewed Miss Wynn, and she also scored 5s across all categories.
Next, we have other Louisiana regions applicants ratings. Ms. Sweetser is next. She scored 5s all the way across.
I scored Miss Caitlin Robinson. She scored 5s all across.
Kimona Hogan is next. Who worked with Kimona?
I did Kimona. She scored 5s all the way across, as did Kathleen Canino, the next one.
Thank you, Kim. Aaron Federer. Who had Aaron Federer?
I had Aaron Federer, 5s all the way across.
I had Christy Gonzalez. She scored 5 all the way across. Angela Harmon.
5s all the way across.
So it appears as though we have unprecedentedly all candidates that can very well qualify for consideration. So at this time, we are going to need to move to the next phase, which we will need to have to engage in some deliberation, because we certainly will find ourselves a challenge sending 17, I'm sorry, he's saying 17, 15 15 names to the full council for consideration. So membership committee, we are at a point where we need to be able to fill 6 seats, and we need to now move into looking at our demographics as well as our diversity requirements before us, since all candidates have successfully scored perfect scores in each category. So now it leaves us to look more deeply into our advocates. We know that we need to fill 3 advocates, and we also know that we have to look closely at our diversity makeup. So that will be the next step we should do. So with that being said, we can start off by, if the committee is pleasured, with the self-advocates. As we know, we need to fill 3 self-advocate seats. So is it possible for us to identify the self-advocates who applied for seats on the council?
This was Shara. So Logan Davis and Vivian Webb were self-advocates.
Thank you.
Also, Madam Chair, Ms. Cheney Guidry is also a self-advocate, identified as such.
Do we have any more self-advocates to our knowledge who applied for membership? Okay. Hearing that there's no other applicants that identified as self-advocates, and we are required to fill 3 self-advocate seats, and I'm only seeing 3 self-advocates that applied, all scored perfectly at 20 as the total. I will entertain a motion from the committee to recommend these 3 self-advocates to the full council for consideration of appointment to fill the self-advocate seat.
I make that
Madam Chair,
motion.
I will second Bambi's motion, Madam Chair.
Motion made by Bambi Palazola, seconded by Randall Chair, to submit the names of Logan Davis, Cheney Guidry, and Vivian Webb to the full council for consideration for appointment to the council as to represent self-advocates to fill the 3 vacant self-advocacy seats. Any objections to the motion? Any abstentions? Any public comment or discussion? Hearing none, motion carried. Okay, so now we have to revisit our membership candidates to look at the needs and address the needs of diversity on the council. At this time, can we identify persons of color on this process? Persons of color.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
don't we have to go a little bit deeper, like African American and then Hispanic and Asian?
I'm gonna do that next.
Okay.
I want to identify persons of color first.
Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for that recommendation. Persons of color.
Angela Harmon.
Angela Harmon, person of color. Thank you, Bambi. Amy, could you assist us with that? If the
Yes.
membership doesn't have that, can you assist us?
I can.
Thank you.
Kimona Hogan is as well,
Thank you.
as is Christy Gonzalez, I believe. I'm checking my notes.
Thank you.
Yes, that is it. So just to further the conversation, Ms. Gonzalez identified herself as Hispanic. And Ms. Kimona Hogan and Ms. Angela Harmon as African American.
Okay, so as it stands right now, we have only identified 3 persons of color in the 15 applicants that we have. And you guys have to accept my apologies on that. We've had more, but some people chose not to move forward with the process or whatever, so the number did change. So we have only 3 applicants that have identified themselves as persons of color. We recognize that in keeping in compliance with our DDAC, ACL, and federal guidelines, that we have to keep diversity in consideration when submitting names to the full council for approval. So at this time, I would need to entertain a motion to recommend these 3 individuals for full consideration to the council for approval.
I'll make the motion.
It is a motion by Rashad Briscoe to submit Kimona Hogan, Christy Gonzalez, Angela Harmon names to the council, the full council, for consideration and recommendation and appointment to the council. Do I have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that motion.
Been motion by Rashad Briscoe, seconded by Randall Brown to submit the names of Kimona Hogan, Christy Gonzalez, and Angela Harmon to the DD Council, the full DD Council, for recommendation for appointment. Do I have any objections? Any abstentions? Any discussion? Okay, hearing none. Any public comments? Okay, hearing none. Motion carried. So can we, Ms. DeVille, either highlight or either we can, or something, the names, the 6 names that we'll be recommending to the council for consideration for appointment? So in front of you, committee, we have the names of the 6 candidates that will be recommended and submitted to the full council for consideration for appointment. Logan Davis from North Louisiana. Logan Davis, self-advocate, North Louisiana. Vivian Webb, self-advocate, North Louisiana. Cheney Guidry, Southwest Louisiana applicant, self-advocate. Kimona Hogan, person of color, Other Louisiana region applicant, Christy Gonzalez. Other Louisiana region applicant, person of color, Angela Harmon. Other Louisiana region applicant, person of color. All right, with that, I believe that's it. I'm not sure if I have to entertain a motion for that, because we've already. Do we have any final recommendations or comments that the committee would like to make at this time? All right, any closing remarks or public comment at this time?
Madam Chair, I would just like to take a moment and thank the staff for all the work they did in this process, as well as all of our processes every day for us to function. As you all know, I'm nearing the end of my term as of the close of business today. And I just wanted to say thank you to the staff for all the work they do every day for all of us in the community and for the council for us to be able to carry out our work. I just want to give a very heartfelt thank you to each of them. And I want to say to each of you, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve with all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair Randall Brown, for your service and commitment and to our community and all that you do. Any other closing remarks and comments at this time? All right, folks. Well, with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn at 9:33. We did good. I'm shocked we did that good. All right, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
I make the motion to adjourn.
It's been moved to adjourn the meeting. We don't need it a second because it's an adjournment. Meeting adjourned 9:33 a.m. You guys, thank you so much for your work. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, everyone.